Welcome, dear listeners, to the Haunted Narrator. Prepare yourself for a journey into the unknown, where the supernatural meets the sinister, and the veil between reality and nightmares is thin. Tonight's tale, I was a hoax paranormal investigator, right up until I met the family that showed me hell itself, will chill you to the bone. So, dim the lights, sit back, and let the horror unfold. I'm your host, and together we'll explore the terrifying and the unexplained. Let the story begin.
I know that immoral doesn't quite cover it. It isn't as though I awoke one morning and decided that was the Thursday I was going to roll out of bed and become a piece of shit. I didn't pull on last year's trainers and make a pact with myself that my bank balance would triple because I was going to become a ghost hunting scam artist, greasing my endless lies with snake oil. But it doesn't matter, not really. Karma came for me in a big way, and it was deserved. We gained a bit of a niche following online, nothing to write home about, but we made our money from donations and, of course, the cold hard cash from the people we sucked the life out of. I won't bore with fine details, but we ghost busted 19 homes before we reached the Whistlebees. With each home, we bought more equipment to really add credence to the whole Wraith Wrangler thing. We turned creaky floorboards into demons, water tank leaks into internet views. It was fun until it wasn't. I'd never met a family quite like them. The others, they were young couples afraid of whistling wind, old singles desperate for validation that their home wasn't heavy with the weight of vengeful spirits. It was easy muscle memory. But the Whistlebees god, they were terrified. Young parents and two children with their family dog, cowering in the corner when we set up for our bullshit interview. The daughter was so pale she seemed to sink into the walls behind her, face gaunt and eyes haunted. It was her we latched onto as we probed, stifling excited smirks with our palms. "He never leaves," she whispered, staring through us as if we weren't really there. If her eyes glimmered once, they certainly didn't now, lost and soulless as she gazed into the abyss. It was Adam who managed to coax the words from her lips, voice soft as he gently probed. "Who is he? We have plenty of equipment here to find him in whatever corner he's hiding. We just need to know as much as you can tell us." A wry smile made its way onto her lips as she finally looked at Adam, voice low and deliberate. "You don't need to find him. You'll know where he is, I promise. He walks on the ceiling and crawls down the walls. He'll find you." The young girl's mum spoke suddenly, eyes full of tears. She didn't used to speak this way, she breathed, gaze darting around the room. "She's so tired, so tired. She doesn't sleep anymore, it doesn't let her." Jonah stood up then, grinning as he clutched his camera for dear life. "Ma'am, don't you worry for a second. You're in the right hands. We'll find out what your visitor wants, and we'll cast him right out of here. You have my word." His word meant nothing, but they didn't need to know that. The fear in their aura was palpable. It was as if they had their own pulsing circle of gravity sucking the life from the room. Their dread did something foreign to me. It made me nervous. In all the nighttime giggling and masquerading in people's homes, I'd never been scared. To do this job was to know that ghosts were as real as fairies in whimsical tales. It was to laugh at the notion. But during that interview, I wasn't laughing. The girl's eyes were black holes, and they looked like they'd sucked her soul out long ago. So, with the image of those eyes burned into my retinas, we did what we did best. 11 p.m. rolled around, and with the family booked into a hotel, it was showtime. "Show yourself, demon." Jonah lunged through the front door as nighttime blanketed the house in darkness, hauling our masses of equipment through. We didn't need any of it, obviously, but it made people feel as though we were legitimately expelling ghosts from their homes with the flick of a battered crucifix. Adam rolled his eyes, glancing down at the EMF reader in his hand. "Bro, come on. Did you see how scared that girl was? I feel a little bad." "Shit, she was creepy." Jonah chomped on his gum, leaving muddy boot stains as he clambered up on the sofa to stick his camera to the wall. He walks on the ceiling. Dude must have the mother of all headaches. I stayed quiet, chewing my lip as I set up our audio equipment and eyed the tired-looking lump of plastic. The older it looks, the more authentic it appears, Jonah had assured me. And sure, I supposed it did look like it belonged in a 1998 horror game, but it was pretty shit. Not that we'd ever picked up anything on it before there was the great scare of House 12, when the fridge appeared to hum a lilting tune, but it was just super broken. Right, Jonah jumped downwards, nearly knocking over the coffee table. Plan is Megan Donovan is leaving the house party you guys didn't want to go to at like 2 a.m. I say we wrap up here by 1 a.m., swing by the party, and I'll be her shoulder to cry on because her douchebag boyfriend was a dick again all night. Adam scowled as Jonah cackled, but I stayed mute, casting my eyes around the room. I couldn't deny this place felt different somehow. Even with all the lights dancing across the house, there sat an empty, tepid coldness that seemed to seep through the walls. There was no warmth here, no safety. Loving family photos littered the room, but somehow it felt barren. Wrong. I'm down to do this quickly at least, Adam muttered, eyes darting around nervously. You guys feel that? Place feels haunted. I finished for him, rolling my eyes at Jonah's guffaws. Alright, if you're both gonna be pussies, I'll get started. He stared ominously into our main camera placed across the room, red light blinking towards the sofa we were sitting on. It's time, everyone. As always, first, we'll try to contact the ghost and see if we pick up anything on the microphone or the EMF. Clearing his throat, Adam stole a glance at me. Okay, we're here in your domain, ghost, he tried to project, but I heard the slight crack in his voice. We're here to find out what you want, why you haunt this family. We're here to set you free. I counted down from 6, bulging my eyes as I shrieked, throwing myself backwards. No way, I bellowed, pointing off camera. There's no way. And we did the usual scramble, all of us claiming we saw a photo frame go flying, switching to shaky hand cam footage as Jonah retrieved it from the floor we laid it on earlier. It was rehearsed, but something just felt different. It's hard to describe, but I couldn't shake the feeling a pair of eyes were locked onto me, a horrid gaze burning into my back. The feeling amplified as we pulled out the trusty Ouija board only moments later, laying it on the table and pushing it into frame. I scratched at my arms nervously, trying not to stare at the shadows that seemed to be consuming the room. All right, Jonah muttered, placing his finger on the planchette. I ask its name. We give it something creepy like Morris. I'll move it. You guys just stay still. Feel free to run the show on this one, I offered, goosebumps erupting over my skin. Had it gotten colder in here? Adam certainly thought so as he hugged his hoodie tighter, shaking something off as he placed his finger on the planchette with us. The dread was otherworldly, beginning to creep across my skin and begging me to stop. Spirit, Jonah demanded, dramatically eyeing each corner of the room. Make yourself known to us. Show us. Communicate with us. I want to ask what name gives you your power. What is your name, ghost? He waited a fairly believable amount of time before the planchette slowly began to move towards M, but I knew my heart wasn't in my lackluster reaction. Jonah would yell at me later, claiming I ruined the entire Ouija shot, but I swore I could see something in my peripheral, just out of view, staring at me. I didn't turn my head, didn't dare. Instead, I gritted my teeth and focused on the board, letting my jaw drop dramatically. M-A-U-R-I. And just like that, the planchette halted. Painfully, almost. Jonah scowled, head snapping to us. Really? Dude, I was nearly finished. You stopped, I argued, wondering if it was a blanket on the bookshelf or a crumpled up man staring dead-eyed at me, as I was beginning to suspect it was. Just do it again, Adam grumbled, and it wasn't usually like this. We didn't fight, we didn't bite. The house felt as though it was draining the life from us, the joy. I felt physically tired, as though even being here was soul-sucking. But as I told myself, ghosts were not real. We were not real. We were opportunistic bastards, and we were leaving at 1 a.m. The planchette moved to M with ease again, and we forced our shock, but with less enthusiasm this time. It seemed even Jonah was struggling now, eyebrows knitted together tensely. M-A-U-R, I see. And it stopped again, but this time it jerked to the left, causing a gasp to leave Adam's lips. Jonah, for fuck. What is your problem? Jonah cried, looking between us as though we were crazy. Ever since we got in here, you've been acting like a couple of little girls. I swear to God, if Megan. But his words died on his lips, because as we all scowled at one another, the planchette yanked our waiting fingers in the opposite direction, landing on a letter. B. Adam, for Christ. The planchette scraped horribly against the Ouija board, and I couldn't tear my eyes away, sitting between the chaos of my friends arguing as each blamed the other, neither paying enough attention to the board. I swallowed, trying to watch for a twitch of the muscles in their fingers, some indication of which one was fucking with us. But there was none. Their fingers were light, barely grazing the object jerking clumsily around the board. Adam met my eyes, trepidation lining his features. Listen, I just want to get this shit done and get out of here. If this is you, L. It isn't, I returned, voice lost in the sound of Jonah growling and wrenching up the planchette, launching it across the room till it hit the wall with a sickening crack. I could only stare in shock at my furious, panting friend, but Adam leapt upwards, throwing his arms out in question. You can't be serious. Jonah, for fuck's sake, what is wrong with you? And they argued, yelled, threw their arms around, ignored the room. But I couldn't ignore the room. I hadn't been able to ignore it from the second we'd stepped in here, the atmosphere wrapping around my throat from the very first second we'd dared. And they weren't seeing it, but I was. The blanket in the corner of the room, hanging limply from the figure underneath it. Tall, impossibly tall, shrouded in shadow, and with the fabric sagging off it horribly. Shut up, I whispered to the boys next to me, but they didn't stop. They didn't stop as the blanket began to drag closer towards us, the sound of toenails scraping on the floor echoing louder than even my friends. I could see the silhouette underneath it, the darkness that followed, the cold. But they didn't notice, not until a screech sounded, sending our eyes all in the direction of the bleeping monstrosity. Fuck, Adam cried, shaking his head at the EMF detector which was flashing a bloody red color and wailing to attention. I was only distracted momentarily from the carnage, turning around in time to feel a horrid whoosh of air as the blanket fell into a crumpled heap a mere inch from my nose, dropping to my feet. The air was sucked from my lungs as I tumbled backwards, collapsing on the sofa and gasping instead of forming words. Adam looked upon me with concern, but Jonah was done. Nah, he growled, wincing at the wail of the EMF machine. Listen, I'm not doing this all over again. Come here, let's do something with this godforsaken thing. Grab it, wave it around, just fucking get up. My eyes were still darting around the room and only pulled from their trance as a buzzing fly landed on my hand, narrowly avoiding death with the flick of my shaking finger. It woke me up, my voice sounding more strained than I would have liked. Are you hearing that? It's detecting something, Jonah. I swear to God I saw. Faulty microwave, shitty electrics, I don't know. His voice raised threateningly. Seriously, stop. Let's leave the room and run in. We'll act shocked about the EMF. We'll walk around a bit, and then we're going. I'm sick of you both. I should have argued. Obviously, I should have argued. But I can't describe the way I felt in that moment. It was as though my fear gave way to denial so quickly that I was already calling myself crazy, reaching desperately for the idea that no, I was seeing things, feeling things, as though I needed to prove to myself that I was crazy, and the horrors my mind was conjuring simply couldn't exist. So I stayed. I stayed as the three of us trudged out of the living room, as we all pulled our clothes tighter and ignored the ice seeping into our skin. I ignored Adam squeezing my shoulder, a sentiment he'd never bothered with before. I ignored my thudding heart as we clutched our cameras, bursting into the living room in our most epic movie yet, ready to contort our faces in horror. But we didn't have to fake it. In the corner was our screaming EMF reader, blinking red as it had been for the last 5 minutes. But the problem was the endless claws wrapped around it, attached to a figure so tall its head brushed the ceiling and black eyes glared upon us. It swayed in the shadows, but I could see its arms, gaunt and as long as its legs, neck cracking awfully as it turned to look at us in an instant. A sick dripping sounded just loud enough for us to hear, and to this day I imagine it as thick, crimson blood falling from its fingers onto its dead, curled toes. "Holy shit," Adam whispered, so I knew in fact I hadn't lost my mind. We ran, of course. Scared idiots launching themselves backwards and tripping over everything, legs jelly as we bolted for the front door. I cursed myself for not leaving more quickly, begged for a time machine to have me believe my eyes the first time. We didn't make it. There in the hallway was our 1998 horror movie audio device, except now it was crackling and a rasp sounded from it, too deep and gravelly to be human. Layers of voices sounded at once, so distorted I could barely make them out. "I smell your blood," it rasped, the voice touching me so closely I could practically feel it inside of me. "I'll suck it out of your veins and wear your skin." And then, before there was time to react, every light bulb in the house smashed at once. I know because I heard the shards hit the floor in every room, cried out as pure darkness filled the space, leaving me with no idea where my friends were, and if they even existed anymore. "The door won't fucking open," Adam screeched from my right, audibly jamming the handle. "It won't open." "Where's the crucifix?" Jonah begged, and I could hear the tears in his voice. "Adam, where?" But now it was only footsteps we heard, not slow ones. Thudding, loud footsteps, gaining pace and getting louder and louder, till it sounded like something was running at us. But the sound didn't come from the floor. With the most gut-wrenching feeling of horror, I realized it was coming from the ceiling. Oh my God, Adam's voice was below me somewhere, because he'd fallen down into a heap of fear. "What the fuck is that? What is that?" It was deafening, all of it. The wailing EMF detector, the rasp of crackling audio threatening to break all our bones at once, the footsteps slamming to a stop directly above my head. All leading to the moment I looked up, a silent tear disappearing in a slow trickle down my cheek. Its body was contorted horribly as it glowered down from the ceiling, neck cracked at an unnatural angle with bones jutting out everywhere. Dead, black holes for eyes bored into mine, hell radiating from them in such a way that I was knocked to the floor by the sheer force of it. Rows of razor teeth were pulled back into a horrific grin, stretching much in the way its wings did as they grazed the ceiling, reams of liquid trickling from them onto our heads. Hell, staring from above me. My memory is hazy, and part of me thinks my brain tried to erase the trauma to give myself half a chance to go on with my life. I remember Jonah being lifted into the air with such a guttural wail that I've never heard a sound like it since. Remember the sound of his bones crackling as we ran, making straight for the living room. We threw furniture at the window and ignored the thud of Jonah's lifeless body being hurled at us, hitting the wall with a sick crack. I know we got out. I felt its eyes burning from behind me as our skin snagged on glass, as we sprinted into the hammering rain, screaming for any help we could find. When the paramedics came, most of Jonah's leg had already been eaten, the remains nowhere to be found. He woke up 6 days later, screaming bloody murder. Screams he kept up till he was sedated, only reducing to a whimpering wail the third time they woke him up. The bottom floor of the house was destroyed, along with everything in it. Our equipment crushed, all evidence of our horrors erased other than the haunted look in Adams's eyes and the nightmares that still wake me at 3 a.m. Wild animals tore the leg from an unconscious Jonah, the local police said. We were just idiots holding a seance in a house, leaving the back door open to all manner of wild animals as we partied ourselves silly. At first they thought we trashed the house, but the Whistlebees assured the police that no, it simply wasn't the case. This had happened before, they told them. We were just caught in the crossfire. They gave their statement that night, protested our innocence, then packed their bags. They never left. Their little girl went missing that night, right before they could flee. Her suitcase sat in her room untouched, and that house became a sad legend on those streets, spoken about in hushed tones. I left town, but something inside it never left me. We don't speak of it, the three of us. We left, and when we meet, that night exists as the elephant in the room, Jonah's scarred stump reminding us that we didn't imagine the entire thing as a collective fever dream. So I left, lived my life, started going to church, took up cricket, and when I hear the sound of thudding footsteps hammering along the ceiling of my hallway in the dead of night, I pull the covers over my head and pray to every god that may or may not exist that I'll live another day. It takes such a long time to pick up all 104 crucifixes off the floor the next morning, but for the life of me, I'll never stop doing it. And so concludes our harrowing tale. Remember, dear listeners, some doors should never be opened, and some shadows should never be chased. The paranormal world is vast and filled with horrors beyond our comprehension. Thank you for joining me on The Haunted Narrator. If you enjoyed tonight's story, please like, subscribe, and share with fellow seekers of the macabre. Your support helps keep the darkness at bay and the stories coming. Until next time, stay curious, stay cautious, and never stray too far into the shadows.